Let's continue with from AGI deductions. Casualty and theft losses from a federally declared disaster go on line 15 of Schedule A. Now you have to attach Form 4684, and I have just copied this form down here so you can see that it is a relatively complex form. It's beyond the scope of this video, but I just want to make you aware of the fact that it also goes onto the Schedule A. In order to be able to take one of these losses, it has to be a presidentially declared disaster. For example, the 2018 earthquake here in Alaska was a presidentially declared disaster. Business casualty and theft losses are deductible for AGI, not from AGI. And you have to reduce this by the amount of insurance that you're going to receive or that you have received. The amount of the loss is the lesser of your adjusted basis in the property or the decline in fair market value. We're going to have to net personal use casualty gains and losses. There's a $100 per event deduction, and then we're going to take it, we're going to combine them all, and we're going to further reduce them by 10% of AGI. If there's a gain, and that could happen if your insurance reimburses you more than your taxable loss, then you're going to end up having to pay taxes on the gain. In a presidentially declared disaster area, taxpayers can elect to deduct the loss in the tax year before it happened. So you could actually go back and amend your return and take the loss in the earlier year. The reason for that is to get the refund faster. So that just speeds up the amount of relief that those taxpayers can get. Also, in presidentially declared disaster areas, you don't have to recognize gain on insurance proceeds for personal property contained in personal residences. It would be very difficult to come up with an adjusted basis for all of your clothes and books and stuff. And if your insurance company reimburses you for replacement value, that would probably be in excess of your basis. We're not going to make you do that calculation. If you get insurance, you don't have to include that for personal property contained in your private residence. Miscellaneous itemized deductions were deductible at one time. They are not anymore. This is gone. It used to be deductible, but it may come back in the future. It had a 2% floor, and it included employee business expenses, tax preparation expenses, education expenses incurred to maintain or improve skills, and hobby expenses. Now, this is a real problem. Hobby expenses are no longer deductible to the extent of hobby income. So, for example, I'm an amateur gardener. Let's say that I grow tomatoes. I go to my local farmer's market and I sell those tomatoes as a hobby. I have to claim all of that revenue. I used to be able to take my gardening expenses up to the amount of the revenue off on Schedule A as a miscellaneous itemized deduction. No more. Hobby expenses are a problem. A lot of people are going to be trying to claim that what was a hobby is now a business in order to be able to deduct some of it, or they're just going to fail to claim it at all. Investment-related expenses used to be deductible here as well. So we don't know if this will come back or not, but it may. Other itemized deductions. We have one more line. Now, interestingly enough, the big one here is gambling losses. So if I am making quilts and selling them, I can't deduct anything against my revenue. But if I'm gambling, I can deduct my losses. Interesting, huh? How did that go through? We also have a few other things that go on that line, but that is really the sum of what I'm going to talk about here. Again, you add up all of your itemized deductions, and you generally only take these if your itemized deductions are more than your standard deduction, but sometimes you have to take them, and so you would check that box if your itemized deductions are lower than your standard deduction and you're going to take the itemized deductions anyway. You check that box so that it isn't thrown out of the computer. I'm going to stop the video here and we'll continue on in the next video. But in the meantime, if you have any questions, please email me or come to my Zoom office hours.